What is up, YouTube, and welcome back to another live stream on high altitude investing. Today is the 24th of January 2026, and we're going to be talking about a few things. But the first thing I want to talk about in today's live stream is the fact that this bullish crypto pattern pretty much nobody sees. So there's a lot of reasons to be buying Bitcoin, to be buying crypto right now. But a lot of people are super bearish. All I see is bearish charts everywhere on X. Everybody's bearish. Like, to find somebody that's bullish on crypto right now is like finding a needle in a haystack. There's basically nobody that's bullish on crypto. So I'm super excited about today's live stream. Going to talk about some awesome stuff, help you guys navigate all of this market movement so you guys can make the most possible profits in the days coming forward. Because contrary to popular belief, there's a lot of opportunity. And I'm not talking opportunity for taking shorts. I'm talking about opportunity to be going long on the crypto markets and to be making a lot of money throughout 2026 as we start to really break out and go up. So we'll talk about the charts in just a second. Mr. Intellilus, what is up? Thank you for tuning in. He says, I literally just got home from a 3-hour drive and now getting treated with a new live. Well, cool. Glad that you tuned in today. Arnold says, hello, Dallin. Happy to see you again. What is up, Arnold? Thank you for taking some time to tune in to today's stream. Future Dreams 2K says, hi, Dallin, bro. Much love from India. Watched your last live stream and learned about fractals. I'm confident that Bull is getting ready by only watching your videos. Well, I'm glad that you're starting to see some of the things I see in this market. Once you see the market for what it is, that's the number one thing with trading and investing. Your goal as an analyst is to see the market as it is, not what people think it is, not what's popular, not what your bias is, but to see the market for what it actually is. So there's a lot of just logical, reasonable thinking when you're doing analysis on markets, and that really helps you to see this market accurately, to see it for what it is. You want to see things as they really are when it comes to technical analysis. That should be your primary goal. The best way to do that is to have an effective trading strategy. Joe Short says, like finding a needle in a haystack. Yes, it's exactly like that. If you're trying to find people that are bullish on crypto, it's like finding a needle in a haystack right now. So let's see. Did I get this link shared everywhere? Yes, it's shared on X and it's shared on Discord. So let's get started here. So basically, one of the first things that we're looking at here is the accumulation schematic for Wyckoff schematic. If you don't know about Wyckoff, it's Wyckoff. This is a trading strategy, and there's bullish schematics, accumulation schematics, and there's bearish schematics, distribution schematics. You can see here would be a distribution schematic that's showing the market has topped out and is distributing and needs to turn around and go for a bear move. And then this would be an example of let's see if I can find one here, of an accumulation schematic right here. You can see this downward movement followed by this accumulation schematic, then a bullish reversal. So this is what Wyckoff is. Now this is a very specific accumulation schematic that I have up on the top right. And this basically shows us what Bitcoin is doing currently. So a lot of people see a move like this on Bitcoin where we go from 97,000 down to 87,000 and they start to wonder, is crypto really going to recover? We just had this big crash. Is it going to recover? It looks to most people like we're breaking bearish out of a bear flag. That's what most people are seeing in the market right now. But when you understand what a throwback is, it starts to become a little bit more clear as to what's happening in this market and what we see here based on an accumulation perspective. So as you can see, we have an SOS up here in the top left. That would coincide with this right here. This ABC up right here, followed by one more big decline. Then we get our STB, which is our first low right here. Then we come up, and then we basically have sideways consolidation with a little bit of a breakout. You know, this was a cup and handle pattern that actually didn't play out. we had a cup and handle right here. We broke bullish through the neckline, and it didn't keep the momentum. We had short sellers come in right here, and everybody, panicked as the price pulled back instead of breaking bullish out of that cup and handle. But the point being, the schematic here, we have this sideways accumulation, a little bit of a breakout, but not much of one. That coincides with this X part in the top right here. And then you can see another pullback. That's the LPS. So this is called a throwback, a final pullback. This happens a lot in markets. In fact, this is a really, really common thing to have happen. So whenever you see this, a lot of people switch bearish. A lot of people freak out. A lot of people think, oh, this is confirmation that we haven't bottomed yet. That the market is going to go lower because we started to pull back. But what it really is it's a big shakeout in the market before you actually get a bullish turnaround and you start to finish this schematic. Now, if we keep the schematic right where we had it, you can see this is where the recovery starts to happen, is right after the bottom of this LPS. So I fully expect a full-blown recovery coming on Bitcoin back up towards this SOS point in the Wyckoff schematic. And this is definitely something a lot of people are not looking at. A lot of people aren't thinking about this right now. Most people are looking at bear flag patterns, rising wedge patterns. Most people are comparing this to the drop that happened in 2021 and 2022 as crypto went into a bear market because of FTX. Well, in all honesty, this actually has a lot of different characteristics than what happened there. One of the main characteristics and main differences between what happened in 2021 and what we see currently happening with Bitcoin right now is parabolic movement in markets. So as you can see over here on the left, we have, let's pull up Bitcoin with the full chart, okay? Let's pull up the Bitcoin all-time index here. So over here on the left, we have our 2017 cycle, and we have our 2021 cycle right here. Now, the big bear markets always happen after parabolic movement. Now, what does parabolic mean? Well, if you just Google parabolic, you'll get a lot of examples of what parabolic means. Here's a classic charting example of what parabolic means. It basically means that the price is building up momentum faster and faster and faster. So it's getting steeper and steeper and steeper. It's going parabolic, right? That's what parabolic means. And basically, before major bear markets, you always see hyper parabolic movement. So here in 2017, do you notice how straight vertical this chart is right here? Leading up to this point, we had more steady type of growth right here. It was not nearly as steep, but you can see how this market starts to get steeper and steeper and steeper as the price goes up, and then that leads to a correction. So this is something that's uniquely different about this current cycle that a lot of people are just saying, oh, this is our top like 2017 top or 2021 top. It's the same thing all over again, right? That's what a lot of people are saying. But if you look at the historical times when Bitcoin actually had a full-blown bear market, there was always vertical movement here. In other words, parabolic movement. In other words, to put it simply, that price started to get steeper and steeper until it went straight up, okay? Just like that. And you can see right here as well, Bitcoin right here, price getting steeper, starts off kind of slow, gets steeper, and even steeper, even more vertical here before a major bear market, okay? And then if we look at, again, 2017, same thing there. But if you look at 2021, look how vertical this was. Look how just straight vertical this price action was on Bitcoin here in 2021. That's what led to this big correction on Bitcoin. We had vertical movement, just straight parabolic vertical movement. And there's a lot of factors involved in making that happen, all the money printing and all that type of stuff. But if we look at Bitcoin currently, it actually is a lot more like this point right here, pre-2017 vertical pump right here where it went parabolic. Bitcoin is not vertical, you guys. This isn't a vertical move on Bitcoin. This is a very slow, sustainable growth that we've seen on Bitcoin. very different from what we saw leading up to the previous bear markets. And I know people say, oh, well, the law of diminishing returns and all that kind of stuff. But the thing is you have to understand with markets, the law of diminishing returns is based on percentage gains. That doesn't affect what leads to a correction. What leads to a correction in markets is parabolic movement, unsustainable growth. That's what leads to a correction inside of a market. It's not diminishing returns. Diminishing returns just means that if you would have bought Bitcoin back here when Bitcoin was worth $1 before it went to $30 or whatever, then you would have made, 300 times your investment. You're not going to get that kind of a percentage gain from Bitcoin going from 87,000 per coin to even 500K or wherever it stops, 400K, however high Bitcoin goes. That's what the law of diminishing returns means. It doesn't have anything to do with unsustainable growth leading to a bear market. So Bitcoin really has been very sustainable, very sustained growth on Bitcoin since our bottom here at 16K. It has not been parabolic like what we saw previous to every other bear market. There was an 80+% correction. So that's pretty important for you guys to understand. You think alts will go any lower? No, I don't. Good old Wyckoff. Yeah, Wyckoff is pretty useful. Matt Osty says, surprise hump day live stream. Awesome. Smash those likes. Well, thank you. Michael says 2028. I have no idea what you mean by that, Michael. The Moron says, hey, Dallin, can we get a bull run in 2026? I think we will get a bull run in 2026. It's really just a matter of when. The general consensus among most people is that 2026 will be bearish. But the thing is everybody thought 2025 was going to be this massive altcoin bull run where altcoins just went vertical and went crazy. And really only Zcash and a couple of meme coins pumped hard last year. So what everybody was expecting to have happen last year, and the markets just fizzled out, and especially altcoins didn't really perform. Really what's looking like in these charts is that that's what will have happen this year in 2026. That we will have a big parabolic run in the altcoin markets, in the Bitcoin markets, and really make a lot of profit in the up and coming moves. So yeah, let's talk about some of the other patterns on Bitcoin. I've got a couple other patterns here that I wanted to talk about. Let's pull up Bitcoin on Coinbase. So Bitcoin actually still looks a lot like the NASDAQ. Well, in this case, the S&P 500, but the NASDAQ probably has the same fractal if I went and looked. So let's pull up the NASDAQ or the S&P 500 fractal here on the right. We'll keep Bitcoin over here on the left, and we'll talk a little bit about the similarities between current crash on Bitcoin and what we saw with the S&P 500 in 2025. So essentially, the crash that happened on Bitcoin was the same crash that happened on the S&P 500, only Bitcoin crashed later. So the S&P 500 crashed in April, and Bitcoin crashed towards November. Okay, so the stock market's basically leading Bitcoin right now, which makes sense. The stock market has more old money, more institutional money. It's just bigger, more established. So of course, as we start to move in towards this big mania phase in the world markets, which is really what we're set up for, is a big, crazy, euphoric blow off top for the world markets and for the entire world economy, really. The stock market's going to lead because it's the most established. It has the most old money. Like I said, it's got the most established. Most people trust the U.S. stock market a great deal, right? So it's going to lead. So we see the S&P 500 pulling back here. Pretty big correction on the S&P from 6,100 per share down to 4,800 per share here on the S&P 500, right? And if you zoom in, there's actually the same pullback that everybody's freaking out about right now on Bitcoin also happened on the S&P 500. I know these are, not as much data. Crypto's a 24-hour market, so we get a lot more clear data, but the same structure happened on the S&P 500 at the bottom of its cycle. So these throwbacks are very common. The market can look like it's climbing, look like it's breaking out, when really it has to finish that double bottom pattern before it breaks out, before it turns around and goes to the moon. So that's what we see here with the S&P 500. Very similar fractal. I believe Bitcoin is following this. The U.S. stock market is leading. The U.S. stock market is leading Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is following the same pattern, the same exact fractal as what the S&P 500 did in March and April of last year. Bitcoin just didn't drop until November, but it's the same exact structure in the market. And by the way, for people that are trying to call a top on the S&P 500, we're not there yet. I know a lot of people want to be the guy that calls a top on the entire U.S. stock market and be that cool person that's smart and, oh, look at me, I call the top on the stock market. But there's a lot of factors involved that most people are not looking at. For example, just to kind of go off of the Bitcoin subject for just a minute. Okay, let's pull up the Dow Jones in the big picture, which a lot of people want to try to call a top on the stock market. But really what the stock market is doing is we're moving into what, like, basically a massive parabolic, super profitable blow off top for the US stock market. And this is what I've been telling people is going to happen since 2021, once I first started to see all of this, when it all started to come together and I started to realize what was happening in the US stock market. So let's pull up Bitcoin, but we'll pull up Bitcoin on Bitstamp over here on the left, and we'll keep the Dow Jones over here on the right. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take a look at what led to the 2018 bear market on Bitcoin. Because actually, these markets are fractal, as I always talk about. We see the same patterns over and over again in these charts. Now, if you take a look at Bitcoin here on the left, and we take a look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average over here on the right, let's actually go to a 1 month time frame, or maybe a 2 month time frame here, actually. There we go. So we have the Dow Jones over here on the right, and we have Bitcoin over here on the left. Now tell me this is not the exact same thing. Okay? This is the same thing. This is the same psychology in both of these markets. It's a fractal of the same psychology. And if you look right here, really we're like right here on the US stock market. We just barely finished this whole thing right here, where Bitcoin fell from 11,000 down to 9,000. That's what this was right here on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So when I say blow off top, what I mean is the U.S. stock market's getting ready to really rally in a big way for a couple of years or so, have a proper blow off top, just like what Bitcoin saw when it went from like 10,000 up to 20,000. And it finally became overvalued and really topped out. That's exactly where the Dow Jones is at right now. So the U.S. stock market is leading crypto. It's more established. It's a bigger, more established, more old money, better in terms of risk. Like a lot of older people feel like there's risk in crypto, and a lot of older money has way more money than younger guys do. Now, it doesn't mean that crypto isn't going to do something big, because crypto is going to do something very big as the stock market does this blow off top move. But it just means that crypto it's going to do a bigger percentage gain. But the reason we're seeing such a crazy opportunity in the world of crypto is because of what's coming in the stock market. Essentially, the world economy is set up for a very, very big rally, a very big, like, it's called a blow off top. There's just no other way to word it. We're headed for a blow off top in the world economy. That's going to lead to a lot of excitement across the board. This is why we see so much excitement across so many different industries. You see AI, you see blockchain, you see 3D printers, you see all of these new industries that people are so excited about. The reason that's happening is because we're literally moving into the new paradigm phase of the market cycle with the entire world economy. So people are going to be thinking in terms of, oh, technology is going to solve all our problems. We've invented our way out of all of this stuff. When really, if you look at it, that's not the case at all. All these technologies are going to change the world. And this pump that's coming for crypto really is a mass adoption phase for the crypto markets. But at the same time, The world economy is moving into a new paradigm phase. The US stock market, people will get delusional. People will think that it's going to go forever, and it won't. The stock market's not going to go up forever. And most people are trying to call the top now because they don't know what's about to happen. So you have to have that point that's perfect where you see the market for what it is. Most people are trying to call a top right now. They're too early. When the true top comes, almost nobody's going to try to call a top because they're all going to be in this new paradigm phase of the market cycle, and they're going to think it's going to last forever. But that's essentially what's happening in the world markets, is we're headed for that big blow off top, big parabolic run that's going to fuel crypto like nothing else. It's going to be crazy for crypto when that happens. So don't sell your crypto, you guys. This is a perfect buy opportunity. This is exactly like buying the S&P 500, but with a bigger percentage gain when the S&P 500 fell last year back in April and March. Same pattern, same structure in the market here for the S&P. Perfect opportunity to buy crypto, to buy all of your favorite coins here. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. A lot of people need to be aware of that because that's completely different than what most people believe is going to happen. Will LTCN ever go back to its previous all-time high? Yeah, I think it will because Litecoin is going to go crazy. So any stocks associated with Litecoin, like LTCN, is going to go nuts. Grayscale Litecoin Trust is going to go crazy. Let's pull up the chart here and take a look at what's happening. So this is a classic market cycle on Litecoin here, Grayscale Trust. So let's just kind of isolate this chart. If you look at this chart here, it's pretty simple. We have a 5-wave structure. 1, 2, 3, 4, extended 5th wave here. That's why we led to an extended correction. Anytime that you get an extended 5th wave in the market, it's going to lead to an extended correction, a big bear market, a big crash afterwards. And that's what we see here with Litecoin, Grayscale. Big extended 5th wave, big extended crash in the market. Now, as far as the corrective structure goes in this market, it's pretty simple. This is an ABC correction here. Whoops. There we go. We have a classic ABC correction, wave A, wave B, and wave C. Classic ABC structure here. And this is cool because we're getting that final breakdown below support, which means now we can count our 5-wave structure from B to C, which would look something like this. Let's do this actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're completing those subwaves from B to C. We should see a reversal pretty soon. Now, when Litecoin goes parabolic, this will turn into one big double bottom here on Grayscale Litecoin Trust, and a break above this level will be no problem as we go for that big rally in the world markets and as we really start to take off across the board. Man, how do you get all these knowledge? To be honest with you, I just read a lot of books, meditated a lot. Like I've meditated a lot, like years of meditation now. That helps a lot with a clear mind and learning stuff. So just basically just be self-disciplined and study a lot. That's helped me gain a lot of knowledge in all of these areas. And by the way, thank you, Chris, for the donation. I appreciate that $5. That means a lot to me. I genuinely appreciate that. Hi, Dallin. Thanks for the stream. Appreciate the alpha greatly. Well, thank you for tuning in. I never say never. Thought cryptos would hit these low prices. Yeah, that is, to be honest with you, you definitely, so as much as you want to have a very clear understanding of the market and have like a perfect kind of strategy, or as close as to perfect as you can possibly get to make money in these markets, you also want to understand that you're going to be wrong sometimes, especially in the short term. The bigger picture, way easier to call, way easier to predict. So that's why I always tell people, trade the big picture. There's nothing wrong with being a big picture analyst. That's extremely smart to do that, to be a big picture trader and a big picture investor in the markets, because it's going to be a lot. You're not going to give up as easily in the big picture. But if you're so focused on the short term and you're wrong all the time, you might get discouraged, right? So I tell people go for big picture. There's nothing wrong with being a big picture investor. But with that being said, you do get to a point where your accuracy is so good that even though you're wrong sometimes, most of the time you're right, and most of the time the market does exactly what you think it's going to do. And when it does that, then you make a bunch of profit, and that helps keep your mentality clear, because once you start to get discouraged in these markets, it's hard to make any money at all. So with Bitcoin, back to Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is so bullish. I know people don't think this. I know people think Bitcoin is going to crash. I know they think that we're headed down to 50K, down to 60K, down to these really low levels here with Bitcoin. But I'm here to tell you guys, Bitcoin is set up for a big move, a big rally, a big turnaround. And if you look right here, we have a perfect ABC correction as well. Wave A, wave B, and wave C down. Perfect ABC correction here on Bitcoin. Just perfect. I mean, that's literally a perfect ABC zigzag. And if you zoom into it, like if we drop time frames and do our subwave analysis here. And if you guys want to learn Elliott wave theory, join my VIP. I've got a free course that comes with the VIP called the Elliott Wave Power Series, or go buy this book called Elliott Wave Profitability. A little cheaper than my VIP course is. So if my VIP course isn't within the range of what you can afford, go look at Elliott Wave Profitability book. Okay, this book, Applying Elliott Wave Theory Profitability. This book is so powerful. Stephen W. Poser, if you want to learn about Elliott waves, get the basics, understand markets. This was written about stock market, but it completely applies perfectly to trading and investing in the crypto markets and understanding Elliott wave. I've got a spider crawling on my wall over here. It's a little jump spider, so I'm not really too scared of it. So anyways, we have all the subwaves here. Perfect ABC correction. That's what happened on Bitcoin. If you look, you see wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That always happens between the top of wave 0 to the bottom of wave A. You're always going to get a 5-wave impulse down right there. And then we have a perfect ABC up right here as well. So wave A, B, and C, perfect ABC up wave right there. So 5-wave down, ABC up, perfect so far as zigzag subwaves go. And then we have our final 5-wave structure here. Wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and our final 5th wave down. So that's a perfect ABC zigzag correction. All of the subwaves, ABC zigzag correction. It's absolutely perfect. Downward zigzag. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. ABC. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect correction on Bitcoin. Perfect ABC correction. Now, what happens at the bottom of an ABC correction? Well, pull up a classic Elliott wave example here. Let's just pull up, like, maybe this one will be a good one to pull up here, and we'll drop it down on the chart and zoom into it a little bit. If you look at what happens here, after an ABC correction, another bullish impulse wave comes into the market, which is exactly what we see right here. ABC down, bullish impulse wave up, ABC down, bullish impulse wave up, a bigger ABC down, and you can see now that becomes a big 1 and a 2, and you get another bullish impulse wave up. So the bottom of these ABC corrections, if you can learn how to identify an ABC correction, it's so powerful. A lot of people ask me, hey, Dallin, how did you call the bottom on Bitcoin here at 50K? Because most people were calling for 30K right here. Well, it's pretty easy to see that Bitcoin had done a corrective wave structure, that it had completed a correction. There was also a big cup and handle pattern as well. So I was using multiple patterns in conjunction with each other. You see this big rounded bottom, big ABC correction, right? Perfect structure. And again, right here, people were trying to call for lower lows on Bitcoin. But what did Bitcoin really do? An ABC correction. What did Bitcoin just barely do? An ABC correction. It's the same story. These corrections can take different shapes, different sizes, just like people. All humans are different. Everybody's a little bit different. Same with these ABC corrections. They could look like this, where the B wave is way up here. They can look more uniform like this, where it's like that. Sometimes even you get a more rare ABC correction, but this happens quite a bit with altcoins actually, where you get an ABC like that. And that's a valid type of correction too. Go study Elliott wave theory and you'll understand that this is a valid ABC correction here, even with the A wave being huge and the B wave being small. Typically, like if you want to do a textbook ABC correction, wave A is the same length as wave C, right? Typically, for standard correction, that's what you'll see. Oops. Is the A wave being the same length. But that doesn't mean you can't get a whole bunch of different variants. And with crypto, the two most common ABC corrections that I see in this market is a standard zigzag correction, but the B wave and the C wave ends up being longer than wave A right here. So you get that kind of structure. And then for altcoins, we see this a lot, where wave A is like really long. So let's go like this. With altcoins, we see this kind of pattern a lot, where the A wave ends up being longer. Then we get just this little B wave, and then this teeny little C wave afterwards. So Bitcoin is doing a classic throwback. If there was ever a good time to buy Bitcoin, it's right now. Right now. That's the best time to buy. I mean, unless you would have bought like here at 81K, at the exact bottom of that move. But in terms of opportunities right now, currently Bitcoin is a very, very good opportunity to be buying right now. Are there any other books besides the Elliott Wave profitability book that you recommend? Someone who is interested in learning more about trading to read. Yeah, for sure. Couple other classics, in my opinion. Encyclopedia of Chart Patterns by Thomas N. Bulkowski here. This is a really good book. This also talks about this exact pattern that we're talking about now, with this throwback in the market, where it looks like it's going to bottom. Then you get another throwback, pull back here, down to support before turning around. So this is a very, very common pattern in this world of stocks as well. And by the way, almost all the stuff that applies to trading in the stock market, and especially stocks and commodity markets, applies to crypto, but also stuff like Forex. Crypto's a currency. So these patterns are universal across all asset classes. It doesn't just have to be, you don't have to buy a crypto trading book. You could go buy a bunch of books on technical analysis of the stock market, and the same patterns apply because human emotion drives markets. So these markets are based on psychology of investors, and that psychology is what drives the market, is the human emotion, people getting excited, people getting fearful. So because of that, because humans are universally across all of these different markets, trading and investing in them, that's why you see all of the same patterns over and over again, right? So here's Technical Analysis of the Financial Markets by John J. Murphy. This is a really good book talking about just general technical analysis, double top patterns, like when stuff gets overbought, oversold, stuff like that. It's a pretty good book. It's even got some chart pattern or candlestick patterns as well, right? Even got some nice candlestick patterns in there. And then this is my favorite candlestick charting technique book here, Japanese Candlestick Charting Techniques by Steve Nyssen. And this one goes into all of the different chart patterns, a lot of candlestick patterns, and just stuff that's really awesome. So I highly recommend this book right here. So there's a couple more books that would definitely be valuable for anybody to learn or to read and to learn from. So anyways, excuse me. Bitcoin is bullish, you guys. That's the essential message of today's live stream. Not only Bitcoin, though, but altcoins as well. Because here's the thing. Here's what's about to happen with Bitcoin. Okay? Let's pull up old BTC here on my X account. And check this out, okay? Bitcoin is about to do what gold did. That's where Bitcoin is at. So if you look, there's this rising wedge continuation pattern. A lot of people think a rising wedge always breaks down. That's not true. It can also be a continuation pattern as well. So with Bitcoin over here on the left and gold over here on the right, we actually see the same structure in both of these markets. The only difference is, just like how the stock market is leading crypto, gold and silver are also leading crypto. So what's about to happen on Bitcoin is what's already happening for gold, for silver, for the stock market. Now, how high Bitcoin goes, nobody really knows. You know, as it breaks out of this and goes bullish, the logarithmic chart shows that it could hit almost $1 million per coin. I'm not saying we're going to get there. We might stop at 400K. Nevertheless, this chart is set up for a big bullish breakout. So what happens when Bitcoin actually goes parabolic, like what happened in 2021, right here, when Bitcoin was going straight vertical, or like what happened in 2017, which isn't loading right now for some reason. Let's pull it up right here. We got to go to the daily. Or like what happened right here in 2017, where Bitcoin was actually going vertical, is altcoins go crazy. That's where altcoins go crazy. So even though Bitcoin is increasing crazy percentage gains, altcoins are going crazier percentage gain when Bitcoin is going vertical, and that leads to a big alt season. But what we see currently in the market is not parabolic. Like if you look at Bitcoin right now, this is nothing like 2021 or 2017. This is more like 2016 before Bitcoin mooned in 2017. So let's just do this here. BTC. It's way more like 2016. If you look at Bitcoin here in 2016, Bitcoin was sustainably growing. Sustainable growth. Then 2017 happened and it became unsustainable. Now, unsustainable growth can last for a long time. That's why the stock market will probably keep going up before it finally tops out. But it became unsustainable in 2017. In 2016, it was completely sustainable growth. I mean, look at that. Perfectly sustainable. And look at Bitcoin right now. This is perfectly sustainable growth. And even this whole move right here with these two corrections is eerily similar to this right here, right before 2017 went full force and we went to unsustainable growth on Bitcoin. So we have not gone straight vertical, and people wonder why there hasn't been an alt season. Well, it's because Bitcoin didn't go parabolic yet. It's doing what it did in 2016. Steady, sustainable growth. But because of what's coming in the stock market, because of what's coming in the world markets as a whole, the world economy, we're going to see a lot of euphoria in terms of the cycle, right? A lot of just pure excitement, the new paradigm phase, the blow off top in the world economy. So we still have a big pump coming. And crypto is not going to be left behind in that pump. It's going to follow everything else up to the moon. And so Bitcoin, really what Bitcoin's about to do is go from sustainable growth to unsustainable. And that could last who knows how long, that unsustainable growth. But for sure, it's going to be very bullish. And in terms of your altcoins, you're going to make a ton of money, because anytime Bitcoin goes into unsustainable growth, your altcoins will go crazy. That's what leads to an alt season, is unsustainable growth on Bitcoin. And you can just see it when you look at the chart. Here's 2017. Look how Bitcoin dominance fell off a cliff. Even though Bitcoin went from 1,000 per coin to 20,000 per coin right here, altcoins went crazy. So even though Bitcoin was growing unsustainably, altcoins pumped so hard that Bitcoin dominance fell off a cliff. Literally. Completely fell off a cliff here. And if we look over here, same thing right here in 2021, when Bitcoin was going unsustainable, like actual unsustainable growth here in 2021, we see Bitcoin dominance fall off a cliff, proper alt season. Another way that we know that Bitcoin hasn't topped out is that what leads to a big bear market on Bitcoin is unsustainable growth in crypto as a whole. And we haven't seen unsustainable growth on Bitcoin or on altcoins. That's why Bitcoin dominance is still clear up here, like it was right here before an alt season happened. Because we have not seen unsustainable growth on altcoins yet. So it's pretty crazy. There's a lot of reasons to be bullish, a lot of opportunity, and a lot of profit to be made in these markets. So I want to talk about Theta a little bit too in today's stream. Especially because I've got these Theta hats and Theta t-shirts that I'm selling. So if you guys are a Theta supporter, click in the description of this live stream and I've got links for these really cool Theta hats. They've got the Theta logo on here. They're really nice material. They're snapback too. Really nice snapback hats here. Awesome the fact that we've got the Theta logo on the front, like right there for everybody to see. Just awesome hats, right? Then we've got this too. We've got a Theta t-shirts as well. So click in the description of today's live stream if you are a big Theta believer. Get one of these t-shirts. If you're in the United States, the shipping cost is covered in the price of the hat or t-shirt itself. So click in the description for a hat. Now let's pull up Theta here and take a look at old Theta. Because what people don't realize, this is more proof of everything that I'm talking about. So the world economy is set up to go into a massive parabolic blow off top, right? The world economy, the U.S. stock market, people are trying to call it top, but it's not the top of the market. We're not there yet. So the crypto markets are going to go crazy. As the stock market goes into a blow off top, the crypto markets are going to go just absolutely crazy. Just crazy. Now, if you look at Theta from a market cycle perspective, Theta is a perfect example of depression. So this is the depression phase of the cycle. Here was euphoria, here's anger, this is depression down here. So Theta is extremely undervalued, not overvalued. A lot of people think Theta is overvalued, that we're headed into a bear market on altcoins, that crypto is overvalued. But if you understand cycles and human psychology, it becomes very apparent that Theta is not overvalued. Theta is extremely undervalued. So the type of explosion that we're about to see in the crypto markets means a lot of these altcoins are not only going to come back up to these prices that they were at last year and in 2024 as well, but also start massive bull markets as they break out of the depression phase and into the disbelief phase and into the hope phase and optimism and belief and thrill and the whole shebang, right? So with Theta here, we're in depression right now. Here's the depression phase. Here's the anger phase right here. Here's the euphoria phase. Here's the euphoria phase. You can see all of the points on the chart. So what Theta is about to do is turn around. It's about to go from the bottom here, start to turn around, break out like this, and start to see a big bull market. And when I say big bull market, I mean like Ethereum in 2021 big. That's what Theta is about to do. If you pull up Ethereum over here and keep Theta on the left, we'll put Ethereum over here on the right-hand side of this chart. We'll pull up Ethereum on Coinbase. And just take a look at this, you guys. This is Ethereum. No, actually, let's pull up Ethereum just on the crypto chart because this goes across all exchanges. And it's actually a little bit more accurate as to what actually happened. So let's go to the, 10-day time frame or something like that. If you look at Ethereum over here on the right and Theta over here on the left, this is what's about to happen to crypto. This is what nobody's telling you, what nobody's talking about, what everybody gave up on, what nobody believes is going to happen anymore is what's about to happen on crypto, for crypto. Check this out. Here's Ethereum on the right. Do you see this big final capitulation where Ethereum went for one more low? below this support level and capitulated and everybody panicked. That was the depression phase of Ethereum right there before it went vertical and parabolic. Now, like I said, the US stock market is going into a blow off top. That's what we're headed into. We're going to have a big blow off top in the US stock market. It's going to go crazy. Because of that, industries like crypto, all of these different things are going to go crazy. It's going to follow the world economy because of where we're at in the cycle. That's why there's so much volatility, so many, the financial industry is one of the fastest growing industries in the entire world right now. Why? Well, we're literally in the US stock market, we're literally about to go from thrill into euphoria in terms of the cycle. We're about to go for that final big pump on the US stock market. So no wonder there's so much opportunity everywhere. We're literally about to go into the euphoria phase or the new paradigm phase, depending on which cycle chart you're looking at, of the entire world economy. Now, if you look over here with Theta on the left and Ethereum on the right, Theta is in the same point that Ethereum was in March of 2020. This thing is going to go straight vertical, all the way to the moon. All the way up. I'm talking green candles, like just how many red candles and how painful this was right here. Every action has an equal and or opposite reaction. Imagine what's going to happen in the other direction. If you thought the bear market was painful and hard to handle, imagine how fun and profitable and bullish the bull market is going to be in the other direction. This is what market cycles do. This is what crypto is doing. So I'm a big Theta supporter. I really believe Theta is going to pump really hard. Pepe. I'm also big on Pepe. I know people, they think, oh, it's a meme coin, or, I'll talk about Dogecoin and I'll be doing a sales call with somebody like, hey, you should buy my one-on-one coaching. And they'll be like, yeah, but you're bullish on Dogecoin, aren't you? And I'm like, yes, I'm bullish on Dogecoin. I don't care if it's a meme coin. I don't care what it is. If it's going to give me profit, if I'm going to make money on it, I'll buy it. That's literally my only rule. If I really believe it's going to go up, I'll buy it. So yeah, of course I'm bullish on meme coins. They're extremely profitable to trade meme coins. Like, we bought Pepe. I posted a video on my YouTube channel about buying Pepe down here because of an inverse head and shoulders. I made a video called like top 5 best meme coins for 2024 or something like that. And it was because of this inverse head and shoulders pattern right here. And Pepe pumped way hard all the way to the moon right after that pattern. Now, if I would have been so dogmatic as to believe that I can never buy a meme coin because I think I'm so smart to only buy stuff with strong fundamentals, then I wouldn't have called this on Pepe that pumped all the way up to a new all-time high and went pretty much vertical all through 2024. Very profitable move here on Pepe. Now, what do I think Pepe is about to do? Well, first of all, we have massive bullish divergence. So we have a lower low in price and a higher low on the MACD. So that's bullish divergence here on Pepe. That's a very strong buy signal for Pepe. The other thing is, if you don't understand cycles, it can be pretty intimidating to see the price of something drop. But if you've been through these cycles, if you've been trading, or even if you just study them, you don't even have to have gone through them, even though it helps to have real experience, of course. But even just understanding the cycle helps a lot. And I was here in crypto since 2015. I've been watching Bitcoin since 2014 when my little brother told me about it because he had watched a Watch Mojo video and told me about this coin you could mine on your computer. And I was like, oh, that sounds really cool. Well, actually, at first I told him it sounded like a total scam. Then I looked into it and I was like, oh, that's really cool. So anyways, I've been looking at these cycles for a long time, studying these charts and understanding the psychology of these markets. And I'm here to tell you that what Pepe is doing right now is basically just a bigger version of what happened to a lot of altcoins here in 2017. where in 2017 they pumped up really hard, pulled back. There was a big altcoin bear market. Everybody gave up on all of them, and then they recovered and went to the moon. And right here, this whole thing right here is the same as this right here with Pepe. In terms of cyclical analysis, that's the same point in the cycle. So yeah, I'm bullish on Pepe too, and I don't care if people, say, "Oh, why do you buy meme coins?" Well, because they pump really hard, and if you can get the timing right, then they're totally worth putting money into. Thanks for showing us the books that you recommend. I appreciate it. Well, yeah, thank you for tuning in. These live streams keep me sane. Lol. They keep me sane too. They're super fun to do, and I love hopping on and doing these live streams with you guys. Dogecoin to $3 plus. I agree with you. I think Dogecoin will easily break above $3. Check this out, you guys. It's pretty simple. You don't have to overcomplicate this. Like, you can just see things for what they are. That's the biggest piece of advice that I have. Study the cycles. Completely ignore all of your opinions, all of your pride, all of what's popular to believe, and just apply what you're learning from the cycle, from good technical analysis books, from good courses, from good mentors. Just apply what you're learning. And even mentors, you have to be really careful who you choose because, you just want to have a good mentor, right? So let's go to the 8-day time frame here on Dogecoin, and we'll pull up Bitcoin over here on the right. Bitcoin on, I think Coinbase will be fine. And let's take a look at Bitcoin in 2017 and 2018 and 2019 and 2020. And even into 2021 a little bit, right? So if you look right here, this is so simple. This is what Dogecoin is doing. It's a perfect repeat of the same thing. Like this whole double bottom right here on Bitcoin is this on Dogecoin. Same thing, same pattern, same structure. So if you just take away all of the noise, if you're not worried about what's popular, if you're not worried about your emotions, if you're not worried about the news, if you're not worried about all the stuff that takes away from just seeing things as they actually are, you can pull up the Dogecoin chart here and pull up the Bitcoin chart and take a look at these market cycles and see perfectly that Dogecoin is where Bitcoin was in March of 2020. Right here in March of 2020 on Bitcoin, when it was like a perfect opportunity to buy Bitcoin before Bitcoin pumped all the way to 69,000 per coin. That's exactly where Dogecoin is at right now. So a new all-time high, no problem. If you understand the big picture cycle, to break above the old all-time high, no problem. Look at Bitcoin, right up through the old all-time high. And this is the disbelief phase of the cycle, too. If you understand human psychology, this is the disbelief phase right here of the market cycle. We're in disbelief. So no wonder that the majority of people don't believe that crypto is going to pump, because the market cycle is a representation of the human emotion of most investors in the market. So if we pull up the market cycle chart again here, this disbelief, this hope, this optimism, this belief, this thrill, this euphoria, that's the emotions of the crowds, of what most people are feeling. That's what this chart represents. That's why it's so good to buy depression of the cycle, because if you're buying depression, you're buying where everybody else has given up, where the price is as cheap as it can possibly be in depression. But now we're in the disbelief phase on Dogecoin, so 90% of investors are going to be in disbelief that Dogecoin will pump. They won't believe it, even if you try to tell them. Even if you show them exactly the truth, they won't believe it. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And that's 100% true. You can show people this stuff, the actual truth of these markets, but only a few people are going to listen, because 90% of people, the majority of people, are going to be in disbelief when it's disbelief, and in euphoria when it's euphoria, and they're going to make bad choices because of that. Super simple, but very profound and powerful to understand the cycle, especially if you just cut out all of the noise and see things as they actually are, like I said. Mr. Intellilist says nobody ever lost money by taking profit. I think it's 100% a good thing to take profit. You just have to understand the context of the cycle, because if you take your profit down here and then the price pumps all the way to a new all-time high, you're not really taking you're kind of playing the cycle like really badly. So you want to take profit at the right times. And that's why having the market cycle helps so much, because right now is not a time to be taking profit on Dogecoin if you understand the context of the cycle. Just Dogecoin as an example here, because it's undervalued. It's not overvalued. So even if you're in profit, you're really selling where other people should be buying. So yeah, I agree, you should take profits, but you should take profits at the places where it's smart to take profits, and not just take profits where you think, that just because you're afraid that if you don't take profits, you might lose money. If that's your condition, then set a break-even stop loss if you're in profit, and then you can't lose money, But if you're in profit, but the context of the cycle is showing that a lot bigger of a pump is coming, then don't take profit, don't sell. Let your winners ride. That's a very fundamental principle of trading and investing, is let your winners ride. That's so powerful, to let your winners ride. The most profitable trades I've ever had was trusting that the big picture uptrend is going to continue and holding on when everybody else has given up. Like Bitcoin in 2017. They tried to call the top so many times the whole way up. But I made tons of money in 2017 because I stayed with the trend and held through this whole pump. So it was very, very profitable to do that. So context of the cycle is extremely important. You say up 99%, say down. Yeah, no, most people are calling for a bear market, which is a really good sign for a bull market to happen. Can you please look at LimeWire? Sure, I'll look at LimeWire. Good old LimeWire. Crypto. Let's see here. LimeWire. Is it on Coinbase or anything like that? Let's see if it's on Gate.io. There we go. Yeah, this looks good down here. If there's ever a time to buy LimeWire, it would be right now. We just retraced so much from the peak. Like, look at this. If we look at the peak up here, 182, we're worth 4 cents right now. And there's volume, so people are interested. Bigger players are buying down here. That's what I'm saying. For the people that think the altcoins are headed into a bear market, those people don't realize the altcoins have been in a bear market. Some of them since the top in 2022. Some of those guys don't even realize the altcoins are extremely undervalued, like insanely undervalued. You can just see it in the chart. Look at LimeWire. 4 cents per LimeWire. Big volume spikes coming in now when nobody cared. No big institutions cared about buying that much LimeWire up here. Right? They didn't care. Now they care because it's undervalued. That's why they care. So yeah, I'd say it's a perfect entry, especially if you're accumulating this thing. You could just keep buying, put 100 in, put 100 in, or whatever you're trading with, 1,000 in, and just keep buying, because this trend is going to reverse. It's going to turn around, pop off in a big way, and you're going to make a lot of money because of it. Thanks, Dallin. You are the only one who gives me hope. Well, yeah, thank you. I appreciate the kind words and you guys always supporting me, tuning into these live streams, all the donations, all the people that join the VIP, which is really powerful if you guys want to make money. I called XMR, I called Zcash. A lot of really, really good calls in the VIP area. So definitely worth checking out. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. Surprise hump day live stream. Oh, I already read that one. Let's see here. All right, cool. I think I pretty much covered everything I want to cover today. Don't lose your faith. You guys, if you want to make a lot of money in crypto, don't give up now. Start buying, start accumulating. Everything is undervalued. Bitcoin is clearly undervalued in the short term. And in the big picture, the upside potential is absolutely insane. So buying Bitcoin now is extremely intelligent. And your altcoins are dirt cheap. Like most of your altcoins, some of them you will never see this cheap ever again. Ever again. There's so much opportunity in the altcoin markets to be buying extremely undervalued assets with extremely high potential for upside, like 30, 40 times your money in a lot of cases. So yeah, just keep buying, keep accumulating, keep investing. You guys are going to do well. I believe in you. Like, you're going to do very well in this market. Again, look at the market for what it is. Study the cycles. Ignore what's popular. Ignore the news. Ignore everything that takes you away from seeing this market for what it actually is. So anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I love and appreciate every single one of you. If you enjoyed this video or live stream, please share it with your friends. Normally I'm doing videos. And yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you guys later. As always, stay profitable out there.